On December 25, 1945, 5 Sodder children died in a house fire in Fayetteville, West Virginia. That's what the official record says. But investigators searched the ashes of that house for days, and they never found a single bone. No skull fragments, no teeth, no fused metal from a belt buckle or a hair clip, nothing. A house fire that supposedly cremated 5 children in 45 minutes, in a blaze that didn't even get hot enough to melt the Christmas lights still glowing on the roof as it burned. Their parents spent the rest of their lives insisting those 5 children didn't die that night. And the more you look at what actually happened on that hillside, the harder it is to blame them. Because almost nothing about that night behaves the way it should. Not the ladder, not the trucks, not the phone, not the fire itself. Christmas Eve, 1945, was supposed to be the best one the Sodder family had in years. George and Jenny Sodder had 10 children, and 9 of them were home that night. The war was over. 2 of the older boys had come back from serving overseas, and the house on the hillside outside Fayetteville was loud with them again for the first time in years. Marion, the oldest daughter still living at home, worked at a dime store downtown, and she'd spent her wages on toys for her younger sisters. Martha was 12, Jenny was 8, Betty was 5. They tore open their gifts hours early, and they begged their mother to let them stay up past bedtime just this once, and she said yes. At 10 o'clock, Jenny told the older boys, Maurice and Louis, to finish the evening chores before they turned in. Feed the chickens, bring in the cows. Maurice was 14, Louis was 9. George Sodder and his 2 oldest sons had already gone to bed after a full day of work. Jenny carried her youngest, 3-year-old Sylvia, up the stairs, and the house went quiet, room by room, the way houses do on Christmas Eve. Around midnight, the phone rang. A woman's voice, one Jenny didn't recognize, asked if her husband was home. Jenny said no, he was asleep, and started to ask who was calling. She heard laughter, unfamiliar and a little too long, and then the line went dead. Odd, she thought. A wrong number maybe, or somebody's idea of a joke. She checked that the doors were latched and went back to bed. Marion was still awake downstairs, sorting through wrapping paper, savoring the kind of ordinary night a mother remembers for the rest of her life without knowing it yet. Nobody in that house had any reason to think this Christmas Eve would be different from any other. That's what makes it worse. Nothing about the hours leading up to 1 in the morning gave this family a single warning. Just after 1 in the morning, she wakes to the smell of smoke. She runs through the house screaming for everyone to get out. George is already up, already moving, already coughing in a hallway that's filling faster than either of them can process. He and Jenny and 4 of the children make it outside into the freezing dark. 5 don't. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty are still upstairs, and by the time anyone thinks to check, the staircase is already gone, swallowed by flame that's moving faster than a house fire should. George runs for the ladder he keeps against the side of the house. It's always there. Every day of his life, it's been leaning against that wall. Tonight it isn't. Not against the wall, not lying in the yard, not anywhere his hands confined in the dark while his children scream from a window 2 stories up. He runs for his coal trucks instead. He'll back one against the house, climb onto the cab, pull the children out through the window with his own hands. Both trucks ran perfectly the day before. He turns the key on the first one. Nothing. He turns it again. Nothing. He tries the second truck. Nothing. 2 working vehicles, dead within hours of each other, on the one night he needs them to start. He tries the rain barrel next, the one they keep filled year-round for exactly this kind of emergency. It's frozen solid. Solid, in a barrel that had liquid water in it the evening before, on a night no colder than the nights around it. Marion sprints barefoot to a neighbor's house to call for help. She gets the operator. The line just rings and rings, because the woman who's supposed to route emergency calls through Fayetteville at night has already gone home for the holiday, and there's no one left to connect the call. So George Sodder stands in his own front yard, his arms sliced open to the bone from breaking a window, trying to force his way back inside, and he watches his house burn with 5 of his children still in it. 6 of them stand there in the snow and can do nothing but scream names into smoke. The fire department doesn't arrive for hours. A local man finally drives to the fire chief's house himself and hauls him out of bed, and even then, when the truck finally does roll out, it doesn't have enough fuel in the tank to make it the full distance to the scene. When investigators finally asked him why it took so long to get a truck to a house that was clearly visible from town, he said he hadn't known how to drive it. The man in charge of the only fire equipment in Fayetteville couldn't operate the vehicle meant to fight the fire. Nobody at the county level ever followed up on that answer, either. By the time anyone with the authority to search the wreckage actually gets there, the house is a foundation and a heap of smoking ash. The entire structure came down in 45 minutes. The county ruled it an accident, faulty wiring, case closed within days. 5 children declared legally dead on December 30th, with no bodies ever recovered, no funeral, nothing to bury. Jenny Sodder never accepted that finding, and unlike most grieving mothers who refused to believe the worst, she had physical reasons the county's own story didn't survive contact with. Start with the wiring itself. If a short circuit had knocked out the house's electrical system, the power should have died instantly, everywhere, the moment that short occurred. But witnesses on the road that night watched the string of Christmas lights on the Sodder roof stay lit while flames climbed the wall directly beneath them. A dead circuit doesn't keep powering a light string. Either the fire didn't start where the county claimed, or it didn't start how they claimed. Then there's the phone line. Jenny had assumed the wires simply burned through somewhere in the chaos. A repairman who came out to restore service told her that wasn't what he was looking at. The line hadn't melted, hadn't snapped under heat. It had been severed cleanly, with a tool, the kind of cut a fire never leaves behind. Then the ladder. It surfaced days after the fire, thrown down an embankment more than 70 feet from where it always stood. Nobody misplaces a ladder that far, that precisely, on the one night a family needs it. Somebody moved it, somebody hid it. And then the bones, which is the detail that never let Jenny sleep for the rest of her life. She went to a local mortician and asked him one direct question. Could a house fire burning for less than an hour completely destroy the skeletons of 5 children? He told her, flatly, that it couldn't. A crematorium needs sustained heat above 2,000 degrees, maintained for 2 full hours, to fully consume adult bone. The Sodder house fire burned for well under 1 hour. And crews pulling apart the wreckage found bed springs still recognizable as bed springs, kitchen appliances still identifiable by shape. Metal that should have warped and pooled came through that fire in better condition than 5 human skeletons supposedly did. So Jenny ran her own experiment, in her own yard, because nobody official would. She burned animal bones, beef joints, chicken carcasses, pork ribs, timing them against how long her own house had burned. Every single time, bones survived. Every time, there was something left in the ash. Her children's fire left nothing. None of this happened without warning either. Weeks before Christmas, a life insurance salesman had come to the Sodder door and been turned away by George. As he left, he told George his house would go up in smoke and that his children would be destroyed for the things George had been saying about Mussolini. George was an Italian immigrant who'd made no secret of despising the fascist government his family had fled, and that comment sat there, unexplained and unpunished, until the exact thing the man described happened to the letter. Around the same time, a stranger showed up at the property asking specific, pointed questions about which upstairs bedroom the children slept in. Neighbors noticed a car parked across the road for several nights running before Christmas Eve, with men sitting inside who never got out, never knocked, just watched the house. Years later, a private investigator hired by the family excavated the foundation and pulled a hardened rubber fragment out of the dirt. It was identified as part of a military-grade incendiary device. Not a spark from bad household wiring, a device built specifically to burn. And then the sightings started coming in. A woman running a rest stop 50 miles from Fayetteville came forward to say that on Christmas morning, hours after the fire, she'd seen 5 children matching the Sodders' descriptions in a car with Florida plates. She said the children looked frightened, that she tried to approach, and that the adults in the car pulled away the moment she got close. 22 years after the fire, in 1967, Jenny opened an envelope postmarked from Kentucky with no return address. Inside was a photograph of a young man in his late 20s who bore an unmistakable resemblance to her son, Louis. On the back, someone had written a short message signed with Louis's name. The family chased that lead for the rest of their lives. They never found the man in the photograph. So what actually happened on that hillside has never had one accepted answer. It's had several, running side by side for 80 years, and not one of them has ever been ruled out for good. The official version says an electrical fault triggered a fast-moving, catastrophic fire, and that panic explains the rest. A ladder someone forgot they'd moved in the dark, 2 trucks that failed on a cold night for 2 unrelated reasons, a phone line that just happened to stop working at the worst possible moment. Investigators leaned on this version because it required nothing more sinister than bad luck landing on bad luck, 5 separate coincidences arriving on the same night. A second theory ties the fire directly to George's politics, describing it as an act of intimidation carried out by men connected to pro-Mussolini sympathizers in the region, angry enough at his public criticism to want him silenced and made an example of. Under this version, the fire wasn't meant to kill the children at all. It was meant to destroy the house as a warning, and the children were taken out of it before the flames ever started. A third theory points towards something closer to organized trafficking, framing the entire incident as a planned abduction dressed up afterward as a tragic accident. The phone cut and the ladder hidden, and both trucks disabled not by coincidence but by people who needed this family trapped, distracted, and screaming at a burning building while 5 children were quietly moved into a waiting car and driven away. A fourth theory is colder and simpler than the others, that there was no accidental fire in the way anyone was ever told, that the flames were set deliberately to erase evidence of something that had already been done to those children before the smoke ever started, and the entire fire existed only to explain their absence. No investigator, no journalist, and no member of the Sodder family has ever proven one of these over the others. 80 years on, all 4 still stand. What almost no one asks is why the county closed this case so fast. 5 children were declared legally dead within 6 days of the fire, before excavation of the site had even finished, before a single expert had been brought in to examine what should have been left behind. A house fire that killed 5 people anywhere else in America would have drawn a formal investigation lasting weeks, if not months. This one drew a signature on a form. George Sodder died in 1969. Jenny died in 1989. Neither one of them ever stopped believing their children had lived past that Christmas Eve. For decades, they kept a hand-painted billboard standing along Route 16 outside Fayetteville, 5 young faces staring out at every car that passed, asking if anyone had seen them. Sylvia, the youngest, the one Jenny carried up to bed just hours before the fire started, spent the rest of her own life trying to keep the case from being forgotten. She gave interviews into her 80s. She died in 2021, still certain that her brothers and sister hadn't burned in that house, still certain that somewhere, at some point, they had lived. The billboard came down years ago. The house on the hillside was never rebuilt. What stands there now is a memorial garden, 5 names carved into stone, set into a plot of land where investigators once spent days searching for bones that were never there to find. This has been Dark Trace.